So let's continue our discussion. And the first graduate student, Şemsettinova Salihan Polatlı'da, her work is devoted to the psychological approaches to using the different technologies in teaching vocabulary, and her scientific advisor is candidate of philological sciences, associate professor in Iran. Sorry.
Ya şarj etmek
Today, I invite you to say what our preparation is. I prepared a preparation project on the psychological approaches to using the different technologies in teaching vocabulary. Background. Vocabulary is general and widely considered to be one of the most essential elements of language, plays a pivotal role in determining whether or students will be successful in learning language and getting their message across. Our lack of vocabulary knowledge is more likely to result in great difficulty in expressing ourselves both in speaking and writing. Because of the significance of vocabulary knowledge in effective communication, vocabulary learning, and instruction attracted considerable attention from researchers and practitioners, particularly students and teachers. The aim of the work is to observe various techniques and strategies used by us teachers and psychologists in order to define the role of cognitive abilities of the students requiring the vocabulary in the EPM question. The object of the work is the analysis of general characteristics of the process of developing word stock of students through psychological aspects. The subject of the work is represented by the issue of psychological approaches to using the different technologies in teaching vocabulary. Literature review. During the study of the problem, we relied the ideas of the methodologies of the foreign countries and experienced trainers of our countries such as Akbari, Korea, Hatch, Brown, Nation, Oxford, and others. Researchers agree on the fact that learned vocabulary is a complementary function of the EPL content. Without vocabulary, nothing can be yet, and without vocabulary, no communication is possible. Vocabulary strategies. Vocabulary strategies defined as actions that learners help themselves understand and remember vocabulary. The main goal of teachers in the classroom is to explain new words to students and strengthen students' independence in the development of their vocabulary. There are several ways, such as teaching them the vocabulary learning strategies and building their independence to learn new words, and other efforts that they may need to learn words. For example, Catalan defined vocabulary learning strategies as determine the meaning of unknown words, retain them in long-term memory, recall them, and use them in oral and written mood. In a study of Chinese EPL found that the most commonly used and the most useful vocabulary learning strategies are rewriting the word in the mind, analyzing the word, memorizing words, about the meaning of data collection. Strategies that students find effective for vocabulary learning. One of the research questions that the study seeks to answer. Based on the analysis of the data, it was found that most students agreed that practice was improving. They believe that it's more important for them to remember the opportunity to practice using words in written and spoken language. Problems students have while learning words are difficult words. They cannot remember new words or remember only a short time. Difficulty in spelling, difficulty in understanding the meaning of new words, no chance to use words, pronunciation, spend a lot of time learning new words. With regard to solving the above problems, students' informants and emphasizes the importance of several opportunities that improve the situation, such as turning to teachers, friends for help, finding ways to practice using words, keeping notebooks and notes, reading books, newspapers, or magazines. Suggestions on how to learn English vocabulary effectively. Practice using new words as much as possible. Read newspapers, magazines, develop individual reading skills. Make own dictionary, do self-study, memorize definition and spelling, word mapping and word list. The results also show that the use of notebooks, stored words, and intensive reading plays an important role in expanding students' vocabulary. This will now, since reading gives students a perfect chance to come up with new words, which is one of the best ways to develop language vocabulary. Are you finished? Yes. Oh. The present study identified the most effective vocabulary learning strategies, as well as common problems that learners face in learning and teaching English vocabulary. We hope that this study can increase the awareness for teachers and students about the importance of strategies for learning vocabulary, can help teach students how to use vocabulary learning strategies as effectively as possible at the context of prospective learners for easier classes.
Thank you. Madam Pulatina, do you have special recommendations in using psychological approaches in the teaching languages, or it should be related just with vocabulary teaching? Do we have special psychological approaches which we can use in teaching languages, or the psychological approach related just with teaching vocabulary? Is it possible to use this approach in all skills, in all systems?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, please?
What resources and materials did you find for your analysis? What resources?
Internet resource.
And what else?
Okay, other questions? No questions. Thank you. Thank you. Next, please.
The next graduate student, Albert Octavius. The title of this show is The Construction of Complex Sentences in English and Francophone Languages. Scientific advisor, Doctor of Philological Sciences, Associate Professor.
Good morning, everyone. Let me start our presentation. Topic is the construction of complex sentences in English and Francophone language. Development of science, full and inclusive science, in particular in the context not only the decision of actual essential problems, but also with Kaiser's international and foreign policy. Also says the maintenance of the state education standards, which are to the generated progress providing social and economic society. So it forms a society capable of quickly adapting in the modern world. Next, actual of the same in the study of complexness in two language, it is not that is necessary to take into account formation to make them up. The need to compare the typological analysis of structure with the tertiary content and determine their reception in the functional field has not lost any relevance. Indeed, the specific scientist relation of this language will play important role in formation of speech structures. The scope of the scientific research and the comparative analysis of separate features of sentence and exists in two languages which are close to each other and terms form and content in excellence. The next, the knowledge of the given words consists in the fact the pool of present work is based on the levels research and comparative in the US in English and Karakalpak languages. Publication in the area of complex sentences used for such languages as Smiritsky, Vodlak, Ivanova, the later, the Renov, and the Genov were used as the basis for this work. The aim of the work is to investigate the complex sentence and analysis and classification comparative in English and Karakalpak language. The object of the work represents of modern theoretical data on the problem of complex sentence in modern English and Karakalpak languages. The subject of is to research complex sentence in details. Next, the task of the work. They give general information about complex sentence to investigate the classification of the complex sentence and to analyze and use a function of complex sentence. The structure there is a present in introduction to a chapter and conclusion. The definition of the sentence has not a so prescribed and satisfactory definition which would enable right applying every particular case of defined whether in certain linguistic unit one sentence or not. As Chomsky defines language as a set of sentences and infinitive sentence, and each sentence is constructed with some elements. It is general knowledge to be the world's most important language. An English sentence could be divided into two types of sentence. The first type is based on function purpose of the sentence, and such as the declarative sentence, ignorative sentence, imperative sentence, and exclamative sentence. The second type of the business structure of the sentence, such as simple sentence and multiple sentence. Multiple sentence can be divided into three types of the sentence. They are complex sentence, and complex sentence. The next, first is complex sentence is commonly used by people to communicate a complex sentence. Is the sentence consists of one main clause, also behind clause, and two or more subordinate clause as elements of the complex sentence. Moreover, there are more than one unique clause and used to construct complex sentence. The complex sentence is polythetic constructive use of the principle of subordination. This is derived from two or more base sentences of which performance to the role matrix relation to the author and insert sentence. The matrix function as corresponding base sentence may be more rigorously and less rigorously pronounced depending on the types of negative license. The next, when the joined to one complex sentence, the matrix based sentence becomes a particle clause each insert and subordinate clause. Bloch in his book Theoretical Grammar of English stated that the complex sentence of minimal composition including two clauses. The principle one of the subordinate one also.
We move to the conclusion part.
The conclusion shows the graduation paper of the complex sentence, and it is a classification is learned the syntactical category which is considered as a study object of grammar science consists of united structure and it is synaptic. That's why the artist investigated to figure entire. That's why the artist investigate and to figure entire. Play regards the two language phenomenon in the main function is linguistic. Therefore, language phenomenon is studied bilaterally from structure and thematic, and from the thematic to structure. Based on the language particular, these two rules are studied connected to each other. The difference of these two particular structural feature of the grammar categories of systematical classification and the structure in the primary language. The making and series of single statements in simple sentence is not the smell and intellectual activity and making basis developing with the informative innovating and for the complex. A series of simple stated deals with simple methods. When we deal with the complex matter, the very nature of thinking and the producer of the complex sentence. The linguistic have looked at accuracy of the complex sentence, increasing of the nature that the density of the detail or the level of the abstractions of the greatest topic. I can see it.
Thank you, Aksabin Rafaevich. I have a question. What is a complex sentence?
Complex sentence is complex is two language
According to its construction,
analysis.
So, complex sentence. Do we have any differences in the complex sentence structure of Uzbek and English and Kazakh languages?
Yes, it is. It has a difference. For example, it says we learn and translate predictive methods.
Thank you. Other questions?
what is the principal part and subordinate part in the complex sentence?
Principal part.
Controllable. Bakıyorum, üstü okudum ben. Okudum. Ya. Şimdi bağlı ben. Karanlık dedi, kasma bağırıklar. Ya. Başka bir kültürel hem bağımlı, başka bölükten hem bağımlı kültürel. Öyle mi? Misal getir. Bir adaylarda karanlık şimdi bir gapların tercüme mümkün. Alright. Ben bunu tiyatrodan gördüm. O da
I saw in my
bir türlü olmamayı oradan işaretlendi.
I saw he come here.
I saw he was coming. Öyle mi? Karanlık orada.
Ben gördüm. Bu ya.
Evet. Ben bunu tiyatrodan gördüm. O bir park okudu. Karanlık şimdi ben. Onu öğrettim.
Thank you. Next, please.
So the next student is Samarwai Mabuza Sukambaza. The title of your work, Ways of Developing Student Listening Skills through Information Technologies, and your scientific advisor is candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor from Academia.
That's one of the again, my appreciation. Of this topic, ways of developing students, listening skills through information technology. Actuality of the research. What is well interest in using information technologies to develop students' listening skills? Research in this area is ongoing. Student examination may be more effective for different student population and learning conditions. So further research is needed to identify the scenarios and optimal strategies for integrating technology into listening skill development. The purpose of this research was to determine the outcomes of the implementation of ICT activities in the students' listening skills student learning listening. The problem statement in the section of our research proposal brings up the following question. What is the impact of selective and extended listening activities? What kinds of listening activities do students consider more effective in their learning process? And can the implementation of ICT activities affect the students' engagement? The object of the paper is the process of developing students' listening skills. The subject of the paper refers to the specific aspects or variables that are investigated within the scope of the study. The aims of this research are to identify the kinds of listening activities that students consider more effective in their learning process. To inquire the effect that the use of
Safarbaeva, sorry, move to the conclusion part.
based on the study results, following the recommendation have been made. School functionaries should help teachers by arranging technology-supported pedagogical training concepts. Schools should have transparent and provide sufficient facilities for investigators to be encouraged to use ICT application in their teaching. As this includes sufficient technology and really good internet connection.
Okay, thank you. Questions? So, what podcasting technologies did you use in order to develop students' listening skills? Podcasting technologies. What podcasting technologies? In your chapter 2, you have this problems. Podcasting technologies. Okay, thank you. If you have other questions, please. No? Thank you. The next presenter is Mahathir Aliyeva. Nibazufra Nasruddin topic intercultural aspects of verbal and non-verbal behavior. Scientific supervisor Palwanova Halkadribay.
our thesis in intercultural aspect of verbal and non-verbal behavior. Intercultural communication refers to the effective communication between people, workers, clients of different cultural backgrounds. It also include meaning, learning patterns, and non-verbal communication. Intercultural communication is the comparison of communication across culture. Also, intercultural communication needs listening skills, speaking skills, observation, attention, flexibility. Listening skills, their emphasis usually lies on being a competent speaker. Listening is a key skill that many users personal exercise enough. Speaking skills, listening and speaking most work in contemporary effective intercultural communication. Speaking well is not about accent use of grammar and vocabulary or having the gift of the gap. Observation and a large amount of intercultural information can be read in pupil dress, body language, interaction, and behavior. Attention. People need to recognize and understand that sometimes intercultural differences are anyone and present in these situations. Change is defined is virtue. Flexibility, adaptability, and open witness are the route to successful intercultural communication. The role of cultural linguists in study of communication program of speech centration and speech counter language refers to the related range of linguists that explores the relationship between language culture and the contextualism. Cultural linguistics draws on but is not limited to the theory, definition, and analytic tools of cognitive linguistics and the cognitive anthropology. Verbal communication is the refers to the form of communication in which a message is transmitted verbally. Communication is done by word of mouth and the
Sorry, move to the conclusion.
This this qualification paper set out of teaching intercultural communication in Heidelberg State University language learners. For this purpose, we will put through that culture is defined as product, practice, perspective, communication, and the person and intercultural communicative competence consisting attitudes, knowledge, skills, and circle culture awareness were taken is our source.
Thank you. So, questions?
Kızım kim oradan desin? Kim oradan çıkıyor?
Intercultural aspect. Intercultural aspect of
non-verbal behavior. Intercultural aspects of verbal and non-verbal.
Evet, verbal and non-verbal деген кайсы нәрсе?
verbal and non-verbal.
Rukoyetin kurdu mu şurasında? Böyle kurdu mu şu işte? Kur böyle.
Bir de bir tapa biriktirip, bir tapa biriktirip.
Konsultan biriktirilgan konsultant ko'rsatma yaxshi. Unda yaxshi rahmat keyingi nega speaker.
The next graduate student is Maria Salma Batulaya. The title of your work is Using Short Stories for Developing B2 Level Learner Speaking Skills. Scientific advisor is candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor Sajiva Arya.
Good afternoon, dear Chairman and members of my Administration Commission. My name is Salama Kuniva. My topic of my graduation thesis is using short stories for developing speaking skills of B2 level learners. The notion that the main objective of English as a foreign language teaching is to help students to communicate fluently in their other language because most teachers still believe that an English as a foreign language classes should focus on mastering linguistic elements only. However, recent trend in English as a foreign language teaching indicates the necessity of integrating literature because of its rich potential to provide an authentic model of language use. Among literary genres, stories seem to be the most suitable choice for this due to its potential to help students enhance the core skills more effectively because of the motivational benefit embedded in the stories. The purpose of this work is familiarize English as a foreign language teachers and learners with the effectiveness of using the stories in English classes. To raise the awareness of developing the speaking skills of B2 level learners and to give understanding of how to make an improvement in the exciting teaching situation by investigating some significant features of the current teaching in the example of using stories and to increase the opportunities for learners to be motivated and participate actively in their English learning process. In the process of language learning, the main aim of the learners is to acquire the core language skills, listening or reading, writing, and speaking. The main objective of all these core language skills is to develop the learner's learning abilities in producing oral discourse. Richard states the mastery of speaking skill in English is a priority for many second language or foreign language learners. According to Brown, speaking is a productive skill that can be directly and indirectly observed, so observations are invariably lowered by the accuracy and the effectiveness of the past taker's listening skill, which necessarily compromises the reliability and the validity of an oral production test. There are a great number of methods and techniques for developing speaking skills. We analyzed some of them, like role play and simulation, discussion, debate, and situational dialogues, working with newspapers, asking questions, giving directions, and others in the first chapter of our work.
What about conclusion? What did you present in conclusion.
During the research, we learned that the following problems need to find a solution. Firstly, stories might be linguistically demanding for students, and therefore, scaffolding will be necessary as well as careful design of text in order to make the materials accessible for students.
Thank you, Salamat Ibatulayna. We have a question about short stories. Do we have special, let's say, rules or principles of using short stories in teaching or in developing speaking skills? Or any kind of short stories we can use or implement in teaching practice?
Panel's original research sciences Davis mentions three reasons to using stories. The stories are motivating and immensely interesting, and best attract listeners and promote communications.
Okay, thank you.
So what data collection method did you use during your analysis? Data collection method.
Role play and discussion.
Okay, thank you. The next question.
Okay, you have survey results, yeah, in your presentation. What survey did you have?
The survey was conducted among the English language teachers who worked at the Faculty State University and then Nukus State Pedagogical Institute, who teach the subject is reading for the first year students and also
Not reading. Yeah.
speaking, yeah.
Okay, what was the aim of your survey?
Learners, right? Maybe learners, yes.
Not teachers. Yeah.
Questionnaire, right? For learners, right?
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
So the next student is Hamad Muratullah. The title of his work is Assessing Students' Knowledge in English. And scientific advisor is Doctor of Philological Sciences and Associate Professor Musab Alish.
Doctor of Philosophical Sciences on Philology.
Good morning, everyone. Let me start my presentation work. Our topic is assessing students' knowledge in teaching English. The actuality of the research work is the implementation of language classes at school. Requires the teacher to have specific knowledge that he didn't possess. Work with school children in primary and secondary schools. So, the interests and needs of the younger school children lie in other areas where the appropriate assessing system at school is required in order to raise learners' motivation to learn foreign language. The assessment system becomes especially significant in the system of working with pupils at the age of school children are just getting with the point system of school education. Therefore, the teacher has a huge responsibility to teach children to use this system as an effective tool. The aim of the qualification paper is to identify the educational potential of the teachers' assessment activities in teaching a foreign language to school children. So the object of the research is the assessment activity and the activity of pedagogical control in teaching a people foreign language. The subject of the research is the importance of the assessment activities in working teaching school children. This study is based on the following tasks: that process of learn foreign language by school children will be successful. If there is an appropriate assessment system for school children, a means of developing educational motivation is pedagogical assessment and pedagogical control. The child in the assessment work in the educational process as an equal subject of work and not an object of assessment. So, the term assessment, which is widely used in colloquial language, means this state of affairs, the progress, observation, inspection of persons' behavior. A positive change in work event is expected from such an investigation. So, the result shouldn't be to blame or find fault, but at the heart of the investigation are good intention, such as correcting deviation, correcting the mistakes, setting the case in motion. So, in general, assessment is collecting data for revealing the level of learned language skill achieved within a certain period. In language assessment, we gather information in a systematic way with the to help of language testing tools. So, assessment is an essential part of the lesson during which the teacher evaluates of how learners have mastered the material and to provide instructional feedback to help learners. So we may use an oral interview to gather information about learners speaking, then give comments based on that information and make a decision. What's material and activities we should use if the learners needs more work on oral fluency? Thus, within the AL classroom, we reveal source and zones of learning difficulties. Then, types of assessments. We have two types of assessment. First, formative assessment. Formative assessment takes place during course, then module or unit. Their focus is more on gathering data about learners' progress and using these data to help them improve language and skill in communicate games. Then secondly, summative assessment. Often takes place at the end of unit, motto, or
Conclusion, please.
conclusion.
Conclusion, yes. Please. Conclude. Brief.
So, conclusion. In general, assessment is one of the most important aspects of language teaching and learning. Assessments has two main purpose: to make summative evaluations and to provide instructional feedback to help learners progress. So, both summative and formative assessments can be formal or informal. In conclusion, we would like to state that during my research, we practiced and tried to access people's attendance and their activity during the lesson.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. James Maratovich, from my own point of view, I recommend you after graduating to think about the profession of waiter or deputy or moderator, but not in English, okay? Now, question. In your work, there is given matching activity. How we are going to assess the knowledge of learners with the help of this matching activity?
So, firstly,
Okay. Next question, Ishana.
Which types of assessment did you use in your analysis?
first type of assessment.
You mentioned about summative,
Yes,
summative.
and please, if you have a post in your slide, show us the examples of this types of
Assessment is an essential part of the lesson during which the teacher evaluates how learners have mastered the material and use it in reception and production of text. In the oral and written forms for learners speaking or give comments based on that information, maybe make a decision.
Thank you. Other questions? No questions. Thank you. James Maratovich.
The next graduate student is Saycan Atasına Conjuncture. The title of your work is Actualization of Epistles, a comprehensive study in the literary books of John Galsworthy, and scientific advisor, Doctor of Philosophical Sciences, Associate Professor Dr. Sandal.
Good afternoon, dear chairman and members of the attestation commission. I'm Krishna Sayajanda. My scientific advisor is philosophy Dr. Fatma Deldaxman. The topic of my graduation thesis, actualization of epithets, a comprehensive study in the literary works of John Galsworthy. The definition of epithet by Galperin, the epithet is a stylistic device based on the interplay of emotive and logical meaning in an attributive word, phrase, or even sentence used to characterize
characters and objects and pointing out to the reader and frequently imposing on him some of the properties or features of the object with the aim of giving an individual perception and evolution of these features or properties. For example, wild wind, heart-burning smile, and distracted charms. How is it different from the logical attribute? The epithet is markedly subjective and evolutive. The logical attributive is purely objective, non-evolutive, and for example, green meadows, white snow, round table, blue skies, pale complexion, and the classification of epithets may be classified from different standpoints, semantic and structural. Semantic classification of epithets, associated and unassociated. For example, dark forest, dreary midnight, careful attention, unwearying research, uh, and fantastic terrors.
Please, no, come here.
Internal property, first of all, the mentioned above contrast between the ones of his parents and the weather outside and inside his short is created with the help of mute epithets such as large soft seas, a sky of clear still blue, a leaf with stars, thirsty grating, shabby forest, pinchied faces. Um, the author uses a lot more stylistic tools to make the scene more expressive. Episodes and the metonymy and
Okay, thank you. Question. You investigated episode in the work of Joan Galsworthy. So we know that Joan Galsworthy wrote so many works, so many literary works. With what special literary work you work with, or all of them covered in this work? All works covered in this work, or just one individual work? John Galsworthy'nin Dumford жұмыстары var. Қайсысы алдынан ішінде я Saga Farsi. Other questions? No questions. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Next, please. Lori.
So the next student is Lara Ramana Bratova. The title of his work, Semantic and Syntactic Functions of English Prepositions. Scientific advisor is candidate of Knowledgeable Sciences, Associate Professor.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ramadan. Let me start our topic. My topic name is Semantic and Syntactic Functions of English Prepositions. For the linguistics, it's also important to study semantic preposition in a comprehensive way, especially between languages belonging to different systems. Because such study often a broad way to the study of general patterns of information associated with the space and the time in language and conceptual systems. The purpose is to analyze the system of basic preposition in modern English to define semantic and syntax textual characteristics that determine the norms of their constant use in terms of nominative, semantic, and typological structure. Based on those goals, the following tasks were identified. To interpret the modern theory of preposition in English language, to identify, establish, and base it on certain levels, means, and methods for interpreting preposition in them. Determine the general and specific features of linguistic interpretation and preposition in different approaches. Preposition. A preposition is a word placed before noun or pronoun to show what one or another person or things has to do with other person or things. For example, I put my hand on the table. On the table is preposition. It's new. In fact, usually we're talking about functions of preposition. It is suggested that they represent a relationship between object and element. The relations of one of the part of sentence to another. Will you dance this with me, lady friend? In modern English, Old English and Latin French prepositions from system of 151 words. This includes types of simple preposition and in, on, under. Types of complex preposition, which is from outside, beyond, up, open, outer, straight out. Adjective type during, considering past, etc.
Sadly, sorry for interrupting, but please move to the conclusion.
In conclusion, it can be said that preposition is a set of words that express various relationships between compounds consisting of independent words representing objects and events in an objective existence that ensure that the subordination of components of a specific construction. In modern English, the general lexical meaning of preposition is expressed through prepositions that express relationships that from the same personal, semantic, and syntactic purpose. So, in fact, only prepositions are changing. Look at something, look after something, look through and look to something. But as a result, as such, the meaning of the full phrase is also changing. Through my mind, English preposition can be analyzed from the point of cognitive approach, which is used as an object for further investigation considering mental activity of a person applying English preposition.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Ramadan, question. So, do we have any semantics in the prepositions? Okay, yes, we can.
Preposition is used for before noun or pronoun, place it or other person or another thing to show what one person or another thing has to other hands. For example, I put my hand on the table. Where is the on the table of preposition.
Okay. Questions?
Demonstrative. Пространственное значение. Я вам было.
Thank you. No questions. Thank you. Sit down.
The next student is Berdebay Muqaddas. Berdebay Kazak. The title of her work, Taxonomy of Epistles in English Fictional References, a comprehensive classification analysis, scientific advisories, Doctor of Philosophical Sciences, Associate Professor.
Good afternoon once again, dear teachers. I prepared a graduation project on the topic taxonomy of epithets in English fictional narratives, a comprehensive classification analysis. The difficulty of chosen by us then lies in the fact that the human being perceives the reality by means of various images. These images exist everywhere, in art, in nature, in thought, and in speech in particular. It's a novel about a young man who is in love with his own portrait. The young, handsome man admires the image, cannot get rid of the idea that the portrait will always possess what he will inevitably lose, that use. The elder creates extraordinary images of human soul. Each of us at least once created an image. We use different means, stylistic, expressive means and devices to achieve the aim, but the results are the same. We paint a picture. The aim of the research is to concentrate our attention on epithets, a figure of speech which gives the opportunity to create the most expressive and vivid images. The subject of our research is epithets. The object of research is a novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I'm fond of reading. I have read a great number of books in my life, but best of all, I like the one I have read recently. It's The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This wish was fulfilled. It was Lord Henry, a witty and a cynical aristocrat who revealed
Sorry for interrupting. Move to the conclusion part.
In conclusion, this study was undertaken with the aim of providing the most complete description of the epithet system in modern English literary language. The material for this study was works of English fiction of the 20th century. The study is based on the principles and methods of linguistic stylistic research. The purpose of the study is to identify generalized features of the epithet as a stylistic device at a high level of abstraction, at a level of language structure. The research was carried out in three directions. Determination of the linguistic nature of the epithet. The second, classification of epithet in the language of English fiction. The last one is the functioning of the epithet in the language of English literary.
Muqaddas Berdibayeva, please provide us with some examples from Dorian Gray. Examples on epithet.
May I give general example about epithet?
What about Dorian Gray's example? Okay, start from general, then move to the Dorian Gray's examples.
An epithet is a descriptive term or phrase expressing a quality of a person or thing to illustrate that Alexander the Great emphasizes his greatness.
So emphasizes his greatness. Okay, so where is the epithet?
Alexander the Great.
Okay. So from Dorian Gray example. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Other questions? No questions. Thank you. Sit down. Next, please.
So the next student is Murat Murat. The title of his book, Debates as a Means of Teaching Speaking Skills, Scientific Advisor, Doctor of Philosophical Sciences, Associate Professor, Murat Abish.
Debate. Meaning of teaching. Welcome, everybody. Today's presentation is a debate as meaning of teaching speaking skills. Language is one of the main features that a human being is characterized with. It is a social and individual phenomenon that enable humans being to express their feelings and culture. In the age of globalization, where the world has become a small village, people tend to learn each other language. Language is the essential device used to express ourselves and to understand one another. English language is simple, consists of four skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Speaking is productive skills in the oral mood life, the other skills. It is more complicated than it seems at first and involves more than just pronunciation words. There are other kind of speaking situations, interactive speaking situations, which include face-to-face conversation and telephone calls in which we are alternatively listening and speaking and in which we have a chance to ask for clarification, repetition, or slow speech from our conversation partner. The actuality of qualification paper is that that device can be implemented as the alternative way to each speaking and it is different from other strategies. The bike is a great way to improve the student speaking skills. It is also allows them to research and read more text in English. During the process, they can with their vocabulary to most of all their critical thinking skills are enhanced. Those the debating process from the researching of issue, expressing arguments, listening to opponent, and hearing teachers' feedback. All four skills are given enhanced. The aim of the research is to enhance school children speaking skill using the vital technique in classroom. That's supposed to be essential way to increase foreign languages, learner speaking ability. The subject of the research is speaking skills that plays an important role in securing foreign languages. The object of the research is debate which is considered to be one of the essential techniques in enhancing learner speaking skills. The study is based on the following task: that the process of learning a foreign language by school children will be successful if there is an appropriate use speaking activities for school children. Types of debate are defined and used in the classroom to develop speaking skills. Learners are those in a group of two or
3. In order to enhance their speaking and critical thinking ability. Exploring the effectiveness of debating activities in developing speaking skills.
Sorry, Suleyman Maratovich, for interrupting. Move to the conclusion part.
Conclusion. Learners said that as much as they like using the designated debated teaching, they also need to study individual. This could lead to the conclusion that learners consider working the debate teaching in a group and individually as well. The debate activity produces learners that are fully engaged learners that manage themselves and other learners that use social skills, learners that think creatively to solve problems, and learners that process independent skills. As they do, all the learners have to be aware and knowledge able of their culture and other cultures.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions?
How do you organize debates in your class in order to develop speaking skills? How should we spaces?
There are interactive speaking situations which you go face to face.
Wonderful. Other question? No questions. Thank you, Zidane. Next, please.
The student Sherman Adada Bakada he will be devoted to national and cultural specifics of the concept of hospitality in English and Francophone languages. And he also has advisories, Doctor of Philosophical Sciences, Associate Professor, additional in language.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our national and cultural specific of the concept hospitality in English and Francophone languages. The activity of the research work, this research work is devoted to a comparative analysis of the concept of hospitality in English and Francophone languages. The cultural component of meaning is an integral property of units of any national language and all levels. An integral approach to language makes it possible to take into account the national specifics of a particular language. The choice of form of expression is of linguistic units within two languages, in particular English and Francophone, is a reflection of the individual ethnic worldview, as visual role in understanding the system of traditional thought, and mentality belongs to the linguistic pictures of the world, show the prism of which the problem of the concept should be considered. Objects of the research work are originally entirely fixed in English and Francophone languages. Subjects of the research work examines the national and cultural specifics of the implementation of the concepts of hospitality in English and Francophone languages. The purpose of this research research work lies in the fact that for the first time it explored the cognitive space of the concept of hospitality and attempts is made to comprehend the national specific nature of the concept being studied and also comprehend the study of the implementation of the concept of hospitality in English and other languages, which has been yet been just this project of special considerations. For example, this simple content the whole area in the particular food, which has several layers of meaning, health, happiness, dignity, peace, in the modern language, the meaning of the word is happiness, wealth, prosperity, share, their prayer, praise, benefit, benefit is very often given the shape of the dream, the quality of components that make the graph on the association with the concept of food. And food is brought to a layer of food, receiver, with him to look and ever with to earn the amount of food from the unit. In each unit, there was a cube. Food is part sorting.
Please move to the conclusion part.
Conclusion. This study was carried out in the light of modern issues of cognitive science related to the problem of mental process and the results of the process knowledge. The cognitive approach is comparative research related meaning concept determine human ideas about the world. Thanks to the cognitive approach, it is become sophisticated to present the semantics of industries based on its and as a concept of hospitality, occupies and important space in the linguistic linguistic considerations of the ethnic groups understand. Since it is one of the key concepts, national determinant and reflecting the ethnic aspect of the people, considering language as an object of cultural knowledge, the cultural layer of language is in which the voice, the concept of cultural recorded, covering the worldwide of particular ethnic group.
Thank you. So questions?
So, can you give us any examples for with paremiz? You know paremiz, proverbs and sayings in English and Karakalpa languages. Okay? With the call, yes, with the concept is hospitality. English, first one English. Then, if you have equivalents, you have to say in fact. Any examples?
For example, Punak Shaya. Punak Shaya in English is whispered.
Proverbs and sayings, I mean. No semantic. Proverbs and sayings.
farklı noktalarda konuştuğumuz var. Biraz konuştuk. Example var mı? Bir misal değil mi? İngilizce'de hem kanallarımız bunun ya ekvivalenti var mı? Ya tercüması var mı? İzle.
Kademimiz kutlaması.
Hani ne olur? Ne yapalım? Güzel yapabilir misin? Hadi.
Okay, next question. Next question, please. Question.
How to understand hospitality itself in English, among English people, local pass.
Şarla, Şarla, Miman Doğru, Miman Yaşlı,
Thank you. Next, please. Thank you. The next student is Shubhana. Title of your work is Concept Mind in English Language Work Teacher. Your scientific advisor is Doctor of Classical Sciences. Good morning, everybody. Today's our diploma paper is Concept Mind in English Work Picture. The project work is dedicated to cognitive and lingual cultural research of the lexicon concerning the mind in English language. The actuality of the publication
Don't start from actuality. Start from the second part or first part. We don't need actuality. Second or third part if you have. Or main parts. Tell us about the second chapter, structural semantic and conceptual analysis of concept mind in English.
In the given paragraph, we are going to investigate the structural features of lexicon belonging to the concept mind in the English. For this purpose, we use the method of intervals of language unit in expressing this ordered choosing categorical meaning. There are 12 lexicogrammatical categories of nouns in English, verbal nouns, common saying nouns, collective nouns, abstract nouns, concentrate nouns, countable, uncountable, inanimate, and category of personality. The semantic Parallel serves as the basis for the distinguished lexicogrammatical categories. However, we must take into consideration grammatical categories. While classifying nouns into countable, uncountable, enumerated, adjective is a part of speech expressing the features of things which possesses the meaning of the bonus of, for example, a blank mind, good brain, quick thinking. Adjectives express the quality of the thing. Adjectives in English are represented by great amount of simple words: able, abstract, admit, alert, act, attitude, bent, bonkers, bright, brilliant, carnal, clean, clear, clever, crazy, dead, idle, empty, dumb, bright, precise, tuned, funny, insane, keen, little, loose, made, mental, mobile, nimble, etc. The verbs as a part of speech expressed in the grammatical meaning of action, or in other words, in present dynamic action, for instance, touch. Grammatical meaning of the action is widely comprehended. It's the not only activity or functioning itself, but also is the framework providing the extent of subject and relationships with person, set of thing, or person. Vocabulary able, adverb to, might, invent, claim, believe, to, contemplate, deal, forget, handle, claim, know, listen, manage, mark, read.
Azota Baturbekovna, please, conclusion.
In conclusion, there is a nested relationship between language and thought, and the interaction process, the role of language changes. Even so, the limits of our language are different from the limits of our thinking. It is inevitable that people process these concepts in their language. This, however, does not mean that they cannot comprehend or think about concepts that do not exist in their language. Future research on the abstract notions such as emotion, transfer, or expression of the time will shed light on the interaction of the language and thought.
Okay. So, question for you. What is it concept itself?
Concept is a notion.
Give definition for the term concept.
Concept. Concept. Concept is a intention.
Intention. You have just mentioned that concept is notion. Say. Concept is notion. Concept is intention. Intention. Concept is. Okay, thank you. Questions?
What is the method of your, what method did you use for your analysis? Did you compare this concept mind in English with the other languages? Did you compare? No? So, in this way, what methods did you use for your analysis? If it is not comparative analysis. Descriptive maybe, right? No? Or semantic analysis, right? Or lexical, or what else?
physiological, I mean this one. Yeah.
Mine tiene cara de cosa colectiva. Asuma a lo que escucha. Una mission.
Aslında temasının termininde language world picture koysanda oldu. Mesela yok İngiliz dilinde. İngiliz dilinde когнитивный dil biliminde linguistic world view deb berdi. Bitmez, temalarımızda tuğla. Picture world picture degan zat yok. Tuğlaya linguistic world view deb berdi.
Uşun odağı.
Endi bilmaydi-da u. Sen atыңды ingliz tilinde qozada degan biladi-da u. Birew at berib qo'ydi terminga. Thank you.
So the review is Radva, I'm Abdurrahman. The title of your work, New Approach to Engineering English Teachers. Human paper, candidate pedagogy sciences, associate professor Majiva Ali.
After gaining its independence in Republic of Uzbekistan, not any form of legislation in the meaning of such use it has been.
I'm sorry, please start from the second chapter.
Our work consists of two basic parts, the theoretical part and the practical part. In the theoretical part of our work, we deal with the issues of approaches being implemented into the learning practice, like learner-centered approach, task-based approach, content-based approach, theory-based approach, and many others. In the second part of our work, we discuss about the situation in higher education system, especially about the present service English teachers training program which prepares future English teachers. The aim of the present curriculum is to prepare teachers of English who are competent in language to international standards and modern methodology, and they encourage communicating and informational skills rather than pure knowledge, and to help learners to build these skills. Their curriculum seeks to meet these aims through standards, language strand, and methodology strand. Language strand consists of the following subjects: reading and listening and speaking, reading, writing, vocabulary, in context, grammar in context, interpretive skills, discourse analysis, English as an international language, independent study skills. Methodology strand includes the subject as teach students to communicate through English. Prepare the students for communicate up to date with the fast-changing language. Have to be lifelong learners. Decision materials and the tests for their learners. Model language practice in language and methodology. Be confident in teaching in different levels of education. In order to know the impact of present curriculum on the quality of teaching and learning, as well as the professional development of English teachers, we can it should be enough for the students. Who are now working in different educational institutions of the Republic of Kazakhstan. As there are a great number of graduates in our country, we plan to hold the lobby. We open the door and include the former classes students have last energy and change the improvement of the teaching and the school classes have come on the improvement success in teaching. The approach are used in the areas. The program attends to develop the following skills in learners: reading, reasoning, analytical thinking, logical thinking, listening, presentation skills, speaking, time management, support, responsibility, critical thinking, research skills, problem solving, writing, decision making, listening, leadership, planning, communication skills, linking the stage of the lesson, intercultural awareness, self-assessment skills, and interpersonal skills. The new platform has a mission to rehabilitate outreach for English teachers and their students, model good practice in language and methodology, and shapes the stimulus for actual reform in other subjects.
I'm sorry, please move to the conclusion part.
In the community and teaching new technique in our country because more and more people should be instituted in learning. As a result, English teaching and reform are coming to a turning point which predicts a bright future in English education. We have like to say that we should prepare in our country the methods of intensive language based on our national capabilities. Only in this way we can provide the children with all the necessary conditions for their access to these amazing worlds of reading language.
Çok excuse. Okay, sorry. So, please, I'm kind. Give us differences between the terms preset, which is given in capital letters, the whole term, and the preset term with the small letters pre and set. What is the difference between these terms? Sıraladım ben mesela kolay soru veriyorum. Preset деген термин көрсетіп қойыпсыздар жұрыстан, So, біреуі амес capital letterмен берілген да, үлкен әріптермен, preset деген. Біреулерінде pre capital үлкен әріппен, red, одан кейін set үлкен әріппен берілген да, екеуінің farқы бар ма? Farқы неде? Aynen. Біреуінде үстінде болып тұрды да, басқаларында preset үлкен capital letterмен беріліп тұрды да. Мынаның farқы неде мына? Ya? Қазір жоқ па? Айған жасап тұрмын. Мынандай болып бере тұрған болса, бұл сіздер есептелінасыздар. İngiliz тілі оқушы болайын деп отырған оқушылар хақында болса, студенттер хақында болса да, себеп жазбауына Pre-Service English Teacher Training Program деп берді. Енді, даже ана жерде программ керек емес. Үлкен болатын болса, ол бір проекттің аты. Ол проект 2008-2013 жылдары әмелге асырылып, ол эффективный болып, оны ендіріп, ол проект емес, мемлекеттік дәстүр сипатына қабыл етіп кетті. Оны өйтіп ала алмайсыздар да. Сіздер оны баяғы 2008-дегі группалармен салыстырып қойыпсыздар да, ана жұмыстың ішінде. Мен есептемесем деген мынандай алып бергенімізде, пресет қылып бергенімізде да. Farkı var sevgi görünümlerinden.
Şunu.
Our. Single day, okay. Other questions? If you have. So,
What's the difference, task-based approach and topic-based approach? Fark nedir?
Thank you. Other questions?
Yes, in your chapter 2, you implemented one of the new approaches, Inspire You. Again, English, Inspire You. So what kind of approach is it? Inspire You.
English policies promote integrating work in Uzbekistan.
It is also approach.
Target aims at reforming the curriculum materials and assessment in non-biological institutions throughout the country.
Questions? No questions. Thank you. Thank you.
So the next student is Sarmatin Vasanya Miatilna. It has two words, boosting student speaking skills with fluency activity, two scientific advisories, Doctor of Philosophical Sciences, Associate Professor, Mathematics.
Sanya, before starting, we start from the second chapter. Okay?
On behalf of the chairman and the members of the Accreditation Commission, listed for speaking performance of English foreign language students, fear of making mistakes and fear of being lost at by their friends or classmates as they are not sure of correct pronunciation and the grammar for what they want to say. English foreign language students are not confident enough to express their ideas and feelings and are hesitant to speak due to their lack of vocabulary. They feel borrowed when learning English because the teaching learning activities are conducted in a professional way. They also cannot speak based on their weakness or lack of it. Based on number English, it can be complete that there are age factors causing the low speaking ability English foreign language, namely a lack of knowledge about the topic of conversation, b lack of necessary of speaking access. These students tend to use their mother tongue and when learning speaking, fear of making mistakes, being cumulative load at general lack of confidence, lectures of preparation for teaching lectures lack good material. Lectures not very competent is in using English during teaching learning methods and the boring methods used for teaching learning speaking. This is problems with teaching learning speaking English foreign language happened with students that the researchers was teaching in the second semester of teaching English foreign language in the English department at University Shurikana in the academic year. Who become the subject of this research study as the speaking ability of this English foreign language students was low. based on the observation above, there were two factors that were mainly in the causes of the low school. Problems related to the students' ability to learn and speak English foreign language and problems related to the lecturer's ability to teach speaking English foreign language. And this is was supported by research done by Arifa Hussein that the two main factors that cause the emergence of problems in speaking English foreign language are factors to do with their literature and factors to do with the students. Meanwhile, Al-Harri wants the main factors causing the images of problems in teaching, learning, speaking English, and the ability of the lectures in teaching, and the method used, and the students don't get enough or make enough opportunities to practice speaking English. Foreign language was given enough or make enough opportunities to practice speaking English foreign language. From the opinions on the results and the causing the growing ability to speak in English in the field and new method will need to be used to correct the difficulty in speaking and enabling the students to improve their their speaking ability. Cognitive learning, language learning can be used by lecturers to explain foreign words, pronunciation, and the grammar terms in the class. Meanwhile, sorry. Conclusion. In conclusion, most of the students were interested because they were involved directly after teaching about simulation, and the researcher found that the students were improved significantly in speaking English. Most of the students enjoyed and relaxed in study in classroom, and because they felt like studying at home. Students speaking ability improved significantly after practicing speaking thought simulation. It can be that when it was compared before studying thought simulation and after studying thought simulation. That's it.
Thank you, thank you. So questions if you have.
So, what fluency activities did you use for your analysis?
Fluency, the ability to progress language easily and smoothly.
No, activities.
Oral fluency activities, small groups and pair activities present to the class, role play or perform with STEAM centers give students their first part of a sentence which they have to complete. Make early steps on a handle. This gives them and gives them something to work out and complete in pairs or groups. This sentence can follow at them, can be used for writing, reading, and oral fluency.
Thank you. Other questions? No questions. Okay. Thank
And the last one, the last Abdullah Umida the title of implementation of innovations in teaching English through multi-level learners. Scientific advisor is Doctor of Philosophical Sciences, Executive Technology.
Good morning, dear Chairman and members of Higher Education Commission. My topic name is implementation of innovation in teaching English to multi-level learners. today's process of globalization, the effect of the radical reform of the education system of Uzbekistan is embedded in all areas related to this area. Yet, the state pays special attention to the teaching and further development of foreign language in the education system, which is a key sector of socio-economic, political, and cultural life of the country. One of the critical factors that directly affect the morals of the population of the police level. This qualification board is dedicated to the teaching English language to multi-level learners and implementing innovations to them in this process. The practice of English language teaching is a complex as well as demanding task as evolving theoretical and practical knowledge due to the rapid development of science and technology and interworld is being globalized. In this globalized world, English is international language of the world. Actually, of qualification, the English language teaching is not simple. It's not a simple phenomenon. The issue of linguistics as well as methodological diversity and make teaching and learning of English language a bit complex. In the classroom, we can see
Please.
Okay. In conclusion, this qualification board suggests different kinds of innovations in teaching English multi-level learners. We have used various sources, websites, and attempted to adapt multi-level learners. During the teaching process, we have utilized experimental, observational, and communication methods. It was evident that it was not easy to teach multi-level learners. Teachers should take consideration every factors of learner, from their personality to learning professions.
Thank you. Questions, please? So, your topic is about implementation of innovations in teaching English to multi-level learners. So, what do you mean by multi-level learners?
What is it?
What kind of learners are they?
Multi-level learners are the students who have different personalities, skills, interests, and learning needs. Several aspects contribute to the formation of a heterogeneous class, namely language, knowledge, cultural background, attitude to the language, mother tongue, intelligence, world knowledge, learning experience, knowledge of other languages.
So you mean C1 level or B2 level learners? Personal attitude. Personal attitude. Okay,
So are there any differences between implementation of innovations to multi-level learners and, for example, to B1 learners?
Please repeat.
Okay. Are there any differences between implementation of innovations to multi-level students and, for example, to B1 learners?
Yes, that's doctor.
Farklılarma multi-level learners and B1'lara innovation'da
Yes.
today.
Yes.
Qanday?
B2'larga sal төмендеу инновациялық нелерді көрсетеміз ба, я қиылау инновация қойданамыз ба, не деп жатыр? Қандай
Тоже multi-level learners дегенде жазып сұрағанында сізде қайсысына бір определенный бір level ұстауыңыз керек сіз қандай айтасыз да адам иә сол үшін бәрі сұрап береді битуға я симуанға қайсысына деп
Сибанға бәрібір күштірек не қаратады ғой биту сәл білім дәрежесінің төмірек орташа болғаны себебі оған артығырақ қарауы мүмкін мантылары жоғарырақ болады
Мантылары жоғарырақ болады биваға қарағанда иә
мантылары
бәрі сіздің вазифаңыз инновация ғой
мантылары кешке әңгімесі биваға беті бәрі кіреді ғой оның неміз
мен соны сұрап
мен түсінбей қалдым да иә бәрібір ғой ажыратылмайды ғой мантылардың өзі бөлек биваның биік
соны сұрап қайсы бір определиться
иә мантылардың өзі бәрі кіреді ғой
инновация деп сұрағанда да қандай инновацияларды пайдаланасыз инновациядан
қандай фарқы бар
не за техникаға не за инновацияда не за пайдаланасыз инновация
Семантикада қандай инновация
инновация это общий смысл да инновация это общий смысл оның ішіне түрлі методтар экология техникалар кіреді да инновация
мынасын
Hazır nersede oradan Kazan bir
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you.